optimal living, living optimally.
Welcome to Optimal Living Starts Here. I am Versandra Kennebrew, your host. And once again, we are here to share stories that support active duty military, veterans, and their family members with living more healthy, happy lives. We're sharing her story. That is the series that we are engaging in right now. We know his story. We know his story. You know his story. Now we're talking about her story. And I have been bringing to you some dynamic women who have amazing stories to share that I know are going to inspire you to be the best version of yourself. Today, I have a young lady that is joining me, and she is such a dear friend and amazing, dynamic expert in her field. Her name, Berth Morgan. I like saying that last name because it recently changed. I'm not going to tell you the details of that, but I'm sure she may come up with a few little nuggets about that recent change in her name. Let me tell you a little bit more about Berth, because this young lady, she is a Renaissance woman, if you ask me. She's engaged in many different things, but at the core of all of those things that she does in her life, it's really about supporting individuals with living healthy, happy lives. That's really all that it boils down to. She does that in the form of counseling as a therapist. She does that in the form of yoga instruction. She does that in the form of mindfulness and all kinds of experiences that really empower women, especially. I've had the opportunity to work with her on many occasions at Art of Yoga Studio. We've hung out a little bit at Teen Challenge, where we did a wonderful women's event. That event, what was it called?
Unconditionally You.
Yes, Unconditionally You. That was a special experience for women that just really blew my mind as to how the young ladies that attended were impacted by that experience. But beyond that, she does so much stuff. Let me tell you, you might want to just go to her profile on Psychology Today, because that's where you will find out more about her as a licensed professional therapist. Without further ado, let me just introduce you to Berth. So Berth, welcome to Optimal Living Starts Here.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
Yes. I mentioned Psychology Today, and the reason why I did that up front, because we have lots of guests that join us that are really in various forms of holistic health and wellness, and they specialize in various things. And I was just so impressed when I saw your profile on Psychology Today, because that's one of my favorite publications when it comes down to learning about mental health and self-care and those type of things. So just give our audience a little bit more about your background as a licensed therapist.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm excited to hear that you read that publication and you enjoy some of the information that comes from there.
Yes.
So I have been a licensed professional counselor originally from Pennsylvania. And so I obtained my licensure in 2011. And I also have a licensure in Georgia. And so my background as far as counseling is pretty vast. I've worked with ages from 3 years old all the way up to, I would say, probably in 70s. I've worked exclusively with children, behavioral health, behavioral modification, family dynamics. I've also worked with population of those diagnosed with HIV/AIDS, dual diagnosis, which so they have the diagnosis of substance abuse, possibly, and then also a mental health condition.
Yeah.
Usually depression, anxiety, sometimes other aspects and other things. And I've also worked with families, like holistically, because my approach is very holistic. So a vast range of communities, and I've also worked a lot with military as well.
Yes.
So military who are active duty personnel, and also with veterans.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And so I'm still thinking about that name, boy, and I want to just put it out there that Berth is a newlywed.
Yes, I am.
And her husband is a veteran.
Yes.
So she definitely fits right into this programming, and she is one that can really speak to real issues that you may be experiencing or have experienced as it relates to your family and your family dynamics. And so we really do hope that you will use the opportunity of these interviews to reach out to our special guests and experts that can assist you on your journey to health and healing. But let's go a little bit deeper into Berth's experience, because she mentioned something about Philadelphia, I think it was, but we want to go a little bit further back into how she got here, because she actually brings us amazing energy from somewhere outside of the United States. Tell our audience about that and how you have worked with individuals that come from all throughout the diaspora.
So thank you for mentioning that. So I identify as Haitian American. I was born in the United States. My family was born in Haiti, raised in Haiti, came here somewhere around the late 70s, depending on who they were, 80s, 90s even. And so one thing that I've realized, especially as I grow, and get older into my womanhood, is that has always been an essential foundation for me. Yes. And specifically, I would say, as far as how to look at yourself, how to look at others, and how to kind of move about the world. So you mentioned the African diaspora. That's one of my focus points as far as who I work with across, globally. So immigrant families coming into the United States, I have a strong passion for that. First generation, as I identify as a first generation American specifically. So just helping to support people across the diaspora with those kind of needs. So sometimes I think we don't think how people immigrating into the United States, there are so many different types of situations they might encounter, unique situations, new situations that they don't know about, and how that can impact their mental health and well-being. Also, when, being first generation, it's like you're bicultural, you're living in two different worlds in a sense, in many households, many families. And so even that can bring a unique kind of experience as far as how mental health can develop, how people kind of interpret themselves as they move about the world. And so sometimes there can be a disconnect in certain areas where it's like, okay, am I to be this way? Should I be this way? There's a lot of anxiety that might come about within that sense. I like to look at people holistically, and I try to look at the world in that way as well. And so a lot of my practice personally, and then also within my counseling and therapy practice, has been to bring that full circle for that person. So when someone comes to me, I look at them in a complete picture. And so that might be looking at some of their history, yes, like where do you come from? How do you identify spiritually? What do you identify as? We talk about that. We bring that forth. They might use that spiritual strength if they are connected to their spirituality, whatever it might be, wherever it's from. We use that as part of some of their coping skills, some of that essence that they might need to move forward. And so I wanted to make another statement as far as going back to holistically. I mentioned that sometimes people, even without being an immigrant or being first generation, you might experience anxiety, right? You might experience depression. Those type of things, sometimes, not even sometimes, a lot of times they come in physical forms throughout the body. So I've had many, experiences where I'm meeting with people where they say, I'm having headaches and I just don't feel right, or I'm having stomach aches. My stomach feels like it's churning, my heart is beating fast. I'm going outside the home and I'm looking for a job and my heart is beating fast. I'm trying to figure out what should I say and how do I speak? Am I using the right terminology? Because maybe that person is multilingual. And so those type of experiences, those somatic experiences that people have, are just as important in what you can link to what's going on emotionally,
Right.
maybe spiritually with that person. And so I like to look at that whole picture. And even when I work with children or even younger people, young adults, I always like to look at the whole picture. This child doesn't just pop out of the universe and just pop into my chair. I work with the whole family to support them, support the parents, support the children, and then we work together to bring it full circle.
Yes, yes. I love holistic. And I was introduced to that, just really about 20 plus years ago. And before that time, it didn't really mean a lot to me. But as I dug in a lot more deeply and began to learn more about who I was as an individual in all of those ways, mind, body, spirit, it was like, wow, this is so good to identify your full, true self in all of those ways. I brought something with me, and I want to share this with our audience because you love giving gifts. This young lady loves giving gifts. And I'm still trying to figure out what to call this. I wanted it dim num yum, something like that. What is it called? Jim num yum. And it is a symbol. Let me let Berth tell you more about this gift that she gave to me. And as she tells you what it means, it just really speaks to her awareness of who she's engaging with and her desire to really connect on a deep level with people. Tell us, what does this symbol mean?
So this, thank you for bringing this. This is an unexpected surprise.
It is. I love it.
So this symbol here is from the part of Africa, and it is a Dinkra symbol, a West African symbol. And so this represents adaptability, flexibility, transition. So when you see this, it's formed as a turtle. So when you see that symbol, that's what that represents.
Yeah.
And so one reason why I like this symbol is because when you think of the turtle, you think of that shift and that change. You kind of can use that energy, whatever that means to you, to kind of bring forth that shift, that change. Being just a reminder of being flexible in all things. So taking things as they come, taking things as they are, transitioning and moving forward as you may or as you need. And so that's one reason why I love that. And when you see this turtle in the ocean, maybe swimming to you, or you go someplace and you see maybe even an aquarium, you see that the way it moves gracefully. So it continues to move forward gracefully, shifting and kind of changing with the current. So
Yes, yes. I wanted to bring this because it just really speaks to who and what this beautiful spirit is really all about. She saw that I was moving into a new office space, and she was like, oh, well, what can I bring you? I'm like, what? I'm just open to all gifts. But she brought something very special. In fact, this came within I would call it a Zen bowl that had sand in the bottom of it. And if you've ever experienced a Zen garden, then it's really similar to what that is. It's my own special Zen garden. And it was so thoughtful, so mindful. And this is one of the very special gifts that Berth brings not only into the world, but into her practice. And so as you consider whether, needing a counselor or having a counselor could benefit you, I just wanted you to know that she is so much more than a person that you would just speak to on the phone or on video or in person with for about 30 minutes to an hour. She is so much more than that. And she brings all of who she is into her practice. And I'm just so grateful for having you in my wonderful circle of influence and just for your gracefulness. Which brings me to the next question I have for you. I talked about you being a newlywed.
Yes.
I'm going back to the relationship things because I want people to know the human side of who you are.
Yes.
Sometimes you know a person in their profession, but she is not only a therapist or a counselor. She is a wife. She is a friend. She is a partner. And thinking about relationships, I would like for you to maybe share, one or two top tips that you feel are essential for healthy relationships.
Oh, great question. One thing that I would say is communication, and not just, a lot of times people think of communication as just talking. Somebody's listening, just talk and listen, and that piece of it. I would say specifically honing in on the way that you communicate, the type of communication that's presented and shared. And so one thing that I've learned in this relationship is, and then also as being a counselor, is learning that person's style of communication, and then also knowing and being aware. You mentioned awareness a few times. Awareness is huge. I love awareness. I love that term. I love mindfulness of your own type of communication. And so in communicating is one person maybe feeling frazzled and kind of speaking very, using their hands, speaking loudly, and that doesn't mean that person maybe is being disrespectful. That's the way they're presenting themselves to try to open up the communication. I'm touching my throat. This is the throat chakra. This is a place where sometimes we hold things, we hold that communication. So opening and kind of sharing that. So I think that's one of the major things is understanding the type of communication that we have ourselves. And then from there, having an open dialogue with your partner. When you did this, I was trying to communicate such and such, I took it as offensive, or I felt uncomfortable, or, whatever that those pieces are. And then listening, so actively listening, which means not filling in the spaces and the gaps while they speak. It means sitting there, maybe repeating what they said so that you completely understand their words, and then expressing the way that you also felt in that situation. I think another piece for me that's essential is mutual respect.
Yes.
So mutual respect of your partner. And so that could look like, having a clear understanding that this person is there to support you. They're not there to harm you, and kind of checking into those type of pieces.
Yes, those are definitely very important and beneficial tips that you have shared. And as you were speaking, I was thinking about tone in your communication as well. And I tend to go there because I get really excited about anything that I'm talking about. But for you, Berth, I've noticed that your tone is always mellow and mild. Even when you get excited, it's like mellow and mild. So definitely all of those things are things you need to be aware of as you communicate. And because you are in that way, I think it gives balance in our communication. It's like, okay, she knows you're going to be crazy, wild, and loud, and I'm going to be mild. And so you bring the two together, and we just have a great time communicating.
We do.
It is awesome.
Although I don't think you're wild and loud.
Just passionate.
Passion.
Yes.
And it's okay. And communicating, it's okay to be passionate. Of course, you want to be yourself and your full self. It goes back to, again, knowing that about yourself and letting that person know. And so, I said specifically about like an intimate relationship.
Yeah.
That goes for those type of communication, mutual respect goes for all types of relationships.
Yes.
Whether it's, your son speaking to your mother or friends or coworkers, just having that level of understanding of how you are communicating, how you present yourself in the world, and listening to the other person.
Yes, yes. Oh, wow. This is good stuff, you guys. I hope you are taking notes. Maybe you have a pad and a pen right there with you, and you are writing down these tips that you can use each and every day to empower you to live more healthy and happy. Happiness is a big deal as it relates to your health. If you are walking around all the time, drab, in a low vibrational mood, and happiness is not something that's going to show up often, and therefore your health can be impacted greatly in a negative way as a result of that. So find that happiness in your life so that you can also enjoy health. My last question to you, and this is kind of deep. I'm a spiritual person. I would like to know if you can share with our audience how important it is to have a daily spiritual practice, whatever that looks like.
It's, I think, essential to our core, really is what it is. So you said, I like how you said, no matter what it is, so some people use prayer, some people light candles, some people go to a place of worship or places of worship. Some people, whatever it is, it might be yoga that they use as a practice. So whatever that spiritual practice is, I think that is an essential part of who we are, Earlier I was sharing that when I meet with families, individuals, whoever they are, one of the things that I like to hone in on and learn about them is if they have a spiritual practice, if they consider themselves spiritual, in what sense? Maybe they're not, what does that world kind of look for them? And so with that, I like to talk to them about, again, going back to what is their philosophy, what is their personal practice, because that can help shape what we talk about and kind of how we move. And I like to often reference that if they've shared that it's supportive and it's essential to bringing strength, into their world and fortifying them.
Yes.
And so, that's one reason why it is important to have some sort of practice, some sort of daily practice. We talk about awareness a little bit, and I want to say probably about maybe almost 20 years ago, I had this semi-epiphany for myself at least that, awareness is the key. And so I often would say that to myself, and I would sometimes say it to friends and to others that were around me at that time. Awareness is the key. So that might come in physical awareness, that might come in spiritual awareness, emotional, mental awareness. How am I, at that time for myself, how am I moving and becoming aware of just the whole energy that is labeled as birth, at this place and this time. And so how do I kind of move about with this awareness? And so at that particular time for me, it was going to a place of worship and then also surrounding myself with others so that I could feel that I was strong, so I can kind of, have a community that was supportive in whatever my needs were. Also, I started to meditate, and so meditation was something that was very supportive for me also. And so I think that it's important for everyone to kind of sit quietly, I would say, because that might bring about that awareness, that meditative state, that mindfulness, and just kind of bring you to a space of learning, what is it that I need so that I can feel strong, so I can grow, so I can move into the place and to the position. And so I like to use that with people, into the position that you are to be in at this space and this time on earth, essentially is what it is.
Yeah.
So it brings forth growth.
Yes. I love when you said fortifying, and as I think about military, families, veterans, I think about, what's going on in the world today and our need to be fortified, and how do we do that? That's why that question came to mind. And then I thought about even this wonderful elephant sitting over here. Everything has, well, in my mind, the things around me, I surround myself with things that have meaning, that have something that helps me with the mindfulness of what I want to bring about, what I want to see in my world. And I thought about this elephant. And in the yoga world, we have it has a specific meaning. What are your thoughts about what comes to mind when you look at that elephant with its trunk up like that?
Yeah. So one thing for me that the elephant represents is wisdom. I would say clarity, love, also strength. Yes. With the tusk up and I don't think I'm just at a loss of my words. The trunk up as well. I think of like forward movement, like opening yourself up, that growth that I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. So just growing and kind of soaring. There was another thing that I would like to add, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
So one of my sayings, essentially, like I said, awareness is key. Another saying that I have in working with people, and I keep this for myself close to heart too, is one step.
Yes.
And so, oftentimes we can get into spaces where we feel like we're not doing enough, we're not doing well, we're down, we're sad, depression, I'm stressed out, I'm overwhelmed, anxiety, perhaps. And so, and a multitude of other things. And so one thing I like to say is that, again, go back to that one step. Yes. That's all you can do. Yes. You take one step, you take another step. It doesn't matter if you take that one step, let's say later today, and then 2 weeks from now you take the other step. You're slowly moving forward.
Yes.
And then life happens. You take 5 steps back, and then one step. You have that awareness. You take one step, you take another step, and you continue to move forward. You've already put in your spirit that you are working towards that holistic practice, working towards growth and, soaring and well-being. So when I look at the elephant, I think about that too,
Yes.
Taking one step, taking another step in love.
Yes, absolutely. That is so good, Berth. And I know that I remember in my yoga teacher training, we call it Ganesh. But this elephant, one of the other great things that comes out of that is the breaking through barriers. And that comes from that strength. When you think about an elephant and how, some people would think, the elephant just kind of lazily walking around, not really knowing that elephant, when it is called upon, can have some serious speed to it. It can break down things. I'm talking going through a jungle, tearing down trees and all kinds of things. breaking through barriers. And we do that one step, moving forward. This has been such a wonderful experience. I am so happy to introduce you to my friend Berth, who is doing amazing work here in the Chattahoochee Valley. She is supporting so many. She says she has 5 jobs, but this is just how we joke. But she works with various different organizations. And so that is because she is so passionate about what she does. She is so passionate about seeing transformation in you, in your family members. She wants you to live and be well. And so do we here at Optimal Living Starts Here. It has been a pleasure. And I guess, do you have any final things that you would like to share with our audience before we leave?
Well, I wanted to thank you for having me. I would say, again, one step, that's what you can do. Just take one step, take another, and, look at the wider range of things that can help support you. So yoga, maybe meditation, maybe going to a spiritual place for practice, and then again, just going back to having that awareness.
Well, I will leave you with a few images of yoga or Berth in practice, not necessarily doing yoga, but mindfulness. Enjoy these photos as I share them with you, and just think about those wonderful tips that Berth has shared with us throughout this particular episode of Optimal Living Starts Here. And we'll see you again on this station, Beam TV.
Optimal living.